Let's get more insights now. We're speaking with Chen In-beom. He is a retired lieutenant general and a former commander of South Korea's special forces. Welcome, sir, to the show. Now, as a military man, what was your reaction when you heard reports of North Korean troops and generals being deployed to fight with Russia and Ukraine?
Well, this was an alarming progress or development in the region. But I was not surprised. It seemed that it was the logical next step to occur for this conflict.
So we've heard Mark Rutte from NATO. He's NATO's chief. Now, he's described these developments as reflecting more Russia's desperation. What is your reading of the state of Russia's military right now?
Yes, I agree. Putin needs more manpower because he's lost a lot. And now he faces a situation where he must mobilize more troops. If he mobilizes more troops, that means his popularity or support by the general population could deteriorate, which could undermine his reign or power in his country. So this kind of manpower help, especially a professional military like the North Koreans, should be a big boost for his efforts against Ukraine.
Well, I want to come to your point about the North Koreans a bit later, but how might Russia be deploying the Koreans, the North Korean generals, as well as the troops? How might they be deploying them strategically, for one? And there are reports of 12,000 strong numbers making their way there. Is that a number that will make an impact in the war?
That's a great question. And it relies on how and when the North Koreans will be deployed. How refers to whether they will be direct combat soldiers or whether they will be combat support or just supporting the effort in other ways, like guard duty or transportation or other kinds of labor. So we don't know that yet. We think they are combat soldiers and therefore can assume that they will be deployed to combat immediately. I'm sure that they can be deployed to various areas, but right now, main focus is on the Kursk region, where the Russians are trying to push back the Ukrainian bulge that has occurred in that area. So they could be directed at that area and other areas that the Russians are in the offensive. So we'll have to see a little bit and wait and see what happens in that region. But from afar, it looks interesting, but it could affect the whole world.
Absolutely. But let's continue with how effective do you feel North Korean soldiers could be really? For example, could the move backfire? You know, they do have language differences. They're a professional army, but they're also somewhat untested. They've got different military practices. If you were to put them in the combat lines, as you suggested, would be one option. Would they really be effective?
That's a very true statement and a very good question. Actually, nobody really knows how the North Korean soldiers will act under fire, under real battlefield conditions. And I might remind you that the war in Ukraine is very different from any kind of war that we fought up until this day. It's a drone war where little machines are buzzing around, and it has a definite effect on morale as well. So it will be interesting to see how the North Koreans combat the situation. Now, having said that, if the North Koreans, because they're heavily indoctrinated and perform well, this will be a good boost for the military. But on the other hand, if they buckle under pressure and cause a lot of casualties, it would have an opposite effect on their morale. We know that armies like them can use medicines, drugs, and often alcohol to boost morale. So, and provide courage. So that kind of option is still there.
From what you know of North Korea and its army, what would they have received in return for these troops? And to what extent do you feel tensions have been elevated to a very, very critical level?
This is the greatest concern for the South Koreans. We know up until now, Russia has provided food, fuel, and basic technology to the North Koreans, especially money. But now there's the possibility, and there are some information that the Russians have already helped the North Koreans in their efforts to launch a satellite. Although this is called a satellite, this long-range missile is easily transferred into an intercontinental ballistic missile, as well as the satellite itself, which can provide very much needed targeting information and targeting data, which the North Koreans desperately need if they want to strike targets very far away, such as the United States. And because the United States is a close ally to the Republic of Korea, that means very bad news for us South Koreans. So here is where it directly affects the security of the Korean Peninsula.
All right, appreciate that. It's been so interesting speaking with you, sir. Chen In-beom, retired Lieutenant General and former commander of South Korea's Special Forces. Thank you.